In this video, I'm going to be covering why Quartile is one of my favorite Amazon PPC softwares, and it's my software of choice. It's the software that we've been using in the agency since 2020. Now, I don't want you to get so locked in that this is all about Quartile. Mainly what I want you to take away from this is that you need software in Amazon PPC. Use whatever software you want. I'm going to go over Quartile best practices in this video, but you could insert the software of your choice instead of Quartile into this, and it will pretty much be the same thing. The key thing I want you to take away is the principles, the troubleshooting, and why software is so important today in your Amazon PPC campaigns. So that's what I want you to take away from this, not the fact that I'm in love with Quartile, because I do love it. It works really well. I love the team there. I love what they've built there. Is it the best out there? I don't know. I don't care. It works well for me. It works well for my strategy because it's not about the software. It's about the strategy. The strategy is going to take you further than any software can. So if you've tried software in the past, it's most likely because your brand sucks. You have no differentiation in your product. Ooh, that might hurt a little bit. And I'm sorry if that hurts you and you're like, how dare he say that my brand sucks because software didn't work for me? It's because your strategy didn't work or your brand sucks. That's all it is. And so if your brand has no differentiation or you used the software before and you didn't have the right strategy, that's why it didn't work. So if you took a little, like that hurt a little bit, it's because you know I'm right. Sorry to say, but you need to change something in your business. So keep that in mind. But anyway, back to this video. I'm going to be going over Quartile specifically, but you can literally insert any software of your choice for this. Now, who am I and why should you listen to me? I'm Dr. Travis Ziegler. I have a net worth of over $5 million. I used to be an optometrist working the 9-to-5 rat race, and now I'm an e-commerce entrepreneur. I've built and sold brands in the e-commerce space. I built and sold my biggest brand, I Love, for a multi-million-dollar exit, helping lead to my net worth of over $5 million, like I said earlier. And now I run a marketing agency called Profitable Pineapple Ads. We help people like you get unstuck with Amazon PPC and teach you how to build a real business that creates cash in your pocket, that puts profit in your pocket. And you are watching one section of my free PPC masterclass. And I call it a free Amazon PPC masterclass, but it actually teaches you just how to sell on Amazon in general, because we go over external traffic. We go over list building with your email list. We go over how to build your website traffic, but focusing all that traffic around Amazon and building up your Amazon storefront. You can get that at profitablepineapple.com. But enough about me. Let's jump into the content. I want to go over some best practices, some Quartile principles, and some troubleshooting things to know when you're using Quartile. Now, Quartile is an incredibly advanced software, but you need to know what's going on. So I've actually made this into an entire list, but I did want to go over it with you in video format because we'll get some other kind of dialogue, or I guess monologue, in while I'm going over this thing. So let me switch over to my screen, and then I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to be going over. And I am going to be kind of reading this, but then also throwing in my 2 cents as well. So let me switch over to my screen and we'll get started. All right, cool. So this is in your abridged SOP. There's a little bit longer of a description in the longer version, but I just wanted to put this in here so you see it. Now, your first week into Quartile, you're going to be spending more than you thought. Remember, we took that budget and we raised it by 20%. For example, if you're spending $1,000 a day, you're not going to be spending $1,200 a day, and you can bet that Quartile is probably going to hit that. Your ACoS is also around 30% before, this arbitrary number, and we're going higher than that. We're going anywhere from 20% higher, like 36%, or we're going even higher still because we're going after more break-even ACoS with consumables and everything. So your first troubleshooting item of importance, if you notice things are out of control, you have to make sure that you have a negative phrase list uploaded to your ATMs, your auto campaigns, your broad and phrase if applicable. Most of you guys will just have broad and auto, but you got to make sure you have that negative phrase list uploaded. Secondly, make sure you're pausing campaigns. We're going to be pausing campaigns usually about 1 to 2 times a week once we're in that kind of optimization mode and scaling mode. But when you first launch, you may want to look at it 3 to 4 times a week, if not daily. Just be very careful. Let Quartile work. Let it do its thing as long as it's not getting too out of control. Budget. Did you put your budget into Campaign Manager? Go into the settings, make sure you have a budget in place. If you don't have a budget in place, your spend might get out of control. Third or fourth, ACoS target. Make sure you put this in to Quartile. Did you calculate it correctly? Did you put it into Quartile correctly? Don't touch this. Don't touch it for 7 days. Let the system do the work. Second thing you need to do, take a breath. Everybody with me? Relax. Trust the system. The system works. I'm telling you, it's crazy how well it works if you let the system work for you. The system works. If it's not working for you, like I said in the week before, your product sucks. You don't have enough reviews. You don't have enough differentiation. So you have to rethink your brand. So really think about that. Third thing, wait. Don't overmanage. If it works, don't touch it. The first 2 weeks are the hardest, but we need to wait at least 2 weeks before moving on. Bad keywords and campaigns will mess with the system. Let Quartile do its launch, and then we're going to add keywords in a systematic way in our more advanced strategies. But I'm giving you the basics first. I don't want you to go to advanced at least for 2 to 4 weeks, preferably 4 weeks. We were in a meeting today, my team meeting, and people were asking about the more advanced strategies. And I was just like, nope, we're just going to go over basics with everybody first. You have to understand the basics. And the 80-20 of Amazon ads is sponsored products. It's not sponsored brands. It's not sponsored display. It's not DSP. It's sponsored products. And it's focusing on keywords and search terms that have high conversion rates and high volume. If you have high volume with high conversion rates, your organic rank is going to skyrocket. And I'm going to show you an example here. Let me actually get that opened up. Okay, so check this out. What I did is I did a custom date range for this of the day we launched until now. So I think it's about 10 days. And you can see that using this system, this is a commodity product. This isn't any differentiation. There's not really anything that differentiates this brand. This is just our dummy account, so we can use it to connect things. It's called Tessa's Kitchen Club. And you can see revenue's up 150%. Items sold 140%. Profit is actually up because it was even worse, but we're still negative. So what we did is a couple of days ago, we actually raised our price by $5. Organic sales is 426, with paid sales being 2,043. You can see everything is skyrocketing up. Double, if not triple. Advertising costs are, of course, going up as well. So is ACoS and so is TACoS. Now, the reason that TACoS is so high is because we didn't have a lot of keyword rankings with this. And that's what I want to show you next. So when we come into ZonGuru and we go over to the keyword rankings, this one, you can see that, look at that, 65 up to page 1. This one's actually lost a little bit because I actually made that a negative keyword, so that makes sense. I actually deleted it. And then this one, page 3, 144, hasn't really gone up. So I don't think I have. So I may actually do that one, but you can see plus 37, plus 34, kids apron and chef hat kids, plus 20, plus 16, plus 35, plus 33. That's organic ranking that's climbing. And the reason that's so powerful is because we're going after high conversion rate, high volume. When we focus those two things, our organic rank soars. All right. So let the system do its work. All right. Account will start out a little slow for 10 days or so, or it may come out right out of the gate. So you just never know what's going to happen. If your campaign has no clicks after 5 days, you'll need to manually increase the bid. And I've showed you guys how to do that in the weekly maintenance. You just highlight all the targeting and you increase it by 30%. Quartile adjusts bids every hour, hourly day part, or it does day parting after it gets its first click. So if it doesn't get a click, it won't start adjusting the bids until it gets that first click. But then after that, it does it hourly. It does handle your top of search bids based on ACoS and conversion rate. It looks at 7, 14, and 56 days, I believe, but it focuses most of it on the 7 days. Don't run out of stock. That is so key. This is why we give you guys Profitable Pineapple Express inside of this, because you can't run out of stock. If you run out of stock, it kills it. Kills your momentum, it kills your rank, it kills everything. This is just in general for Amazon. So make sure you have an inventory system in place. Don't change parameters for at least a week. If you want to see the naming guide, it's right here. You'll get used to it after a while. When we start to add new search terms, or excuse me, when we start to add new campaigns, like new search terms and new ASINs every week, always pick it based on your best products. We recommend doing your top selling product first, then second best selling product second, and that will make more sense once we get into the advanced area. You never want to have, actually, I'm going to jump down to here. You never want to have more than a 2-to-1 ratio. Your daily budget needs to be double how many campaigns you have. So an example of this is if you have a $2,000 daily budget, you don't want to have more than 1,000 campaigns. Make sure you follow that, because some of you watching this have small budgets of $100. Make sure you have no more than 50 campaigns. If you have a small budget, you need to be focusing on exact match campaigns only, essentially, and maybe some broad if you have more budget left over. Oh yeah, here it is. I kind of mentioned that. Quartile looks at the last 7, 14, 28, and 56, with 7 days getting the most. What this means is that you almost never want to look at performance over the past few days to determine trends because of the attribution. Quartile will be mining keywords and creating new campaigns automatically. That being said, I still like to mine my search term report every single month, at least for the first 6 months, to speed up this process. And so what that means is if you have a broad campaign running and it's going after ASINS and search terms, or excuse me, if you have an auto campaign running going after ASINS and search terms, I don't know the exact formulation, but once you hit a certain amount of orders, I believe it's 2 with Quartile, and a good conversion rate, it's actually going to peel that keyword, or it's going to peel that ASIN away and create its own campaign for it. An exact match, a broad match campaign for your search terms, and then a product targeting campaign for your ASINs. We'll also make a sponsored display. Move your campaigns to the correct portfolio determined by your ASIN. Negative keywords, add negative phrase keywords to broads and autos that Quartile builds out, because it will be building out. So make sure you're doing that monthly at least, but you can do it weekly as well. Add negative exact to broads and autos to further optimize it, because Amazon is, of course, dumb. Quarterly. Keywords without impressions and clicks, pause them and move on. Consider maybe even archiving them and relaunching them to see if you can get more momentum. Now, when something does go awry, the first thing you want to do is check your account health and account performance. The second thing you want to do, this is if like your ACoS starts to get out of control or your conversion rate goes down. Check your account health and account performance, check your ratings and reviews, evaluate your competition. Did somebody lower their price? Did somebody have a lightning deal? Things like that. Check your price, check your inventories, because sometimes check your inventory, because sometimes Amazon may be moving your whole inventory and say you can't be sold for another 7 days. Check your advertising for decreased campaign performance. Maybe Quartile saw something happening and it killed the campaign. So if you go out of stock, it will kill the campaign. We most likely have to relaunch it. Consider having like a lightning deal or a coupon to help increase your conversion rate, because conversion rate is everything. Conversion rate and volume. Start driving external traffic to create that moat, which we'll go over in another stage here. Check for your indexing, and then just check for other trends. But the key thing here is to wait for the initial Quartile build to run at least 4 weeks before moving on. I don't want you doing any of the advanced stuff until you master the basics above before moving to advanced strategies. You have to do this. You have to master the basics before you move on. You can build a nice business by just doing the basics that I'd mentioned before. If you just did that and that's it, you would build a hell of a business. But of course, we're entrepreneurs. We always want to grow. We want to keep growing, and you will grow with the basics. So let's move on to more advanced strategies, only when we have the basics down and only after the first 4 weeks after the build. But the cool thing is that once Quartile is doing your bidding and it's starting to scrape and starting to mine, it's really gaining momentum, is we can now focus on brand expansion, which is stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and stage 5 in this program. Looking forward to jumping into that with you.
Hey guys, in this video, I wanted to share with you our Quartile Principles SOP that we have here at the agency. Now you have access to Quartile. Quartile looks intimidating. There's a bunch of buttons. And I just want to let you know, we don't really use 90% of these, and we're going to simplify everything for you guys so it doesn't seem too complicated when you hop into here. And I want to educate you guys on the process of, if you follow these SOP guidelines, in addition to our 80-20 strategy, you're going to see some pretty good results. So with that being said, let's dive into the SOP. I'm going to organize it a bit better, so when you receive this SOP, you'll be able to understand it with a lot more clarity. But I'm going to go in and just break this down for you. So with our Quartile playbook, we'll start with the pre and post-launch mindset. The most important thing you need to understand about Quartile is the less manual changes made, the more efficient the account will be. And what I mean by manual changes is the account ACoS, product ACoS, campaign ACoS, rule-based optimization, all these little features that Quartile has. If we start getting too granular on the platform, it reacts poorly, or it reacts less efficiently than ideally we would like it to be. As you know, we're in that 80-20 strategy. With our 80-20 strategy, we let things ride. We make adjustments as necessary following our SOP. And if you just adjust the account ACoS, you'll see some pretty good results. And if you start going into a lot of product adjustments and campaign adjustments, we want to be careful with that. But I'm going to go into these as well with product ACoS adjustments and the campaign level ACoS adjustments. But primarily, this is the main lever that we want to focus on, account level ACoS, and we'll be diving into that further. And like I said, the ideal scenario, the only adjustments you'll need to make are the account ACoS adjustments on Quartile, nothing else. There are exceptions, which we'll go over, as I mentioned. Now, this is for mostly the agency purposes, but maybe this will help you as well to get some more clarity on your account. In understanding client goals, we look at the agency for efficiency, budget, their break-even ACoS, and then their target ACoS. Efficiency, are they looking at ACoS or TACoS? TACoS is the best metric for our strategy, so we like to reiterate that with clients. It's like TACoS is the main focus. We want to drive ads that basically help influence organic ranking as well. So TACoS is our main metric. Now, budget, what are they looking at spending monthly? What are they looking at spending daily? This is what we could input in Quartile. We could set the budget spend, our budget cap there for sponsored products. Then what is their break-even ACoS? What is their account level ACoS goal? As you know, when we follow our strategy, more consumable products, we tend to be a little bit more aggressive on the break-even or above break-even for setting up our ACoS on Quartile. Now, these focuses are all based on TACoS. So this will apply to our strategy. Anything, we're basically covering less than 10% TACoS, 15 to 20% TACoS, and then 10 to 15% TACoS. If we're focusing on profitability, less than 10% TACoS, here are the pros and cons. Higher margin, lower account level ACoS, lower TACoS, lower ad spend, but then downsides, lower sales and lower ranking. So we want to take that into consideration if we're looking for profitability. For growth and growth and scale focus, 15 to 20% plus TACoS, basically that'll lead to obviously higher sales, higher ad spend, better ranking, but the downside is lower margin and then it's less efficient. Lastly, our best of both worlds is the focus on profitability and scaling. On average is a 10 to 15% TACoS, and this is a best of both worlds. Obviously, with these adjustments, we want to make sure we figure that out based on our target calculation and then adjust as necessary. These changes should be implemented slowly when you're making these adjustments on Quartile, especially if you're focusing on profitability and scaling. Now, with ACoS customization, I'm going to break this down to just simplify everything. All changes in Quartile platform are managed through one lever, and it's the target ACoS. So target ACoS will apply to account, products, and campaign. But like I said, we tend to focus primarily on account ACoS percentage. To increase ad spend, you increase target ACoS. To decrease ad spend, you decrease target ACoS. It's critical to follow a 2-to-1 ratio when it comes to making adjustments on Quartile and increasing this. So what that means is if I wanted to increase my ad spend by 30%, I'm going to increase this by 15 percentage points. I guess you could say it like that. So if I wanted to increase this by 30%, I'm going to adjust my brand's account level ACoS to 79, and then I'll hit save. And then if you want to decrease it from what we had at 64, I would bring it down by 15 if I wanted to decrease ad spend by 30%. I'll give you examples and I'll add more just to get more clarity on this. But if an account or client wants to increase sales, obviously we want to increase more exposure, which requires an increase in ad spend. To do this, we increase the account level ACoS. Now, if a client wants to be more profitable, let's say their TACoS is too high, we want to decrease this percent of money spent. And what we do with that is to decrease your account level ACoS because that will decrease the ad spend as well. Lastly, when you make these adjustments, and it's important not to change target ACoS more than once a week. Now, Quartile says once a week, that's the recommendation. I usually prefer 7 to 14 days before making adjustments. This will allow Quartile to stabilize and you'll be able to see a more accurate impact. Now, what Quartile does is it's operating on a 7-day basis. And Quartile looks at the previous 7 days ACoS and makes adjustments as necessary to accommodate based on your ACoS goal. So taking that into consideration, we want to have a little bit more time to build more stability there for Quartile. Post-launch adjustments, if customization is needed after you launch, and we've done the launch process for you guys. Once it's fully onboarded, before we make any changes to account level ACoS adjustments, we want to make sure we reach the following goals on Quartile, one of the three. Account is delivering the same ACoS with increased spend and sales. Account is delivering lower ACoS with same spend and increased sales. And then account is delivering lower ACoS with increased sales and spend. Once these are met, once one of these scenarios is met, then you can make adjustments on Quartile. Target ACoS. ACoS account ACoS goal. To simplify this, too high of an ACoS will lead to more broad, less efficient, non-related keywords. Too low ACoS will narrow the terms to be more efficient and focus a little bit more on branded terms. This will limit growth opportunity. So you want, and I'll delete this because this may not make sense. So you want the best of both worlds. You want to focus on having the right ACoS, and you'll figure this out as you monitor progress. You calculate tacos week over week, and then you can assess from there where you want to be, and that's the best way to do it. Now, I'm going to go into each breakdown of the account level adjustment, product, and then campaign. Account level adjustments, they're the most useful and important. It's the least amount of granularity. All ASINs and campaigns target that same ACoS goal. So when you have an account ACoS goal of mine 64%, all my ASINs are around that. But this works extremely well for 80/20 because your bestseller, right? You're going to basically make the account level ACoS adjustment based most likely on your bestseller or the average of the bestsellers. And from there, Quartile will react properly in regards to that. And then it will let the ad spend flow, and you'll start to see some progression in there and exactly what you want to see in terms of adjustments. It's the most efficient way to manage. Like I said, when you start getting to ASIN and products and you start adding a bunch of them, you want to be careful there. And I'll go into the products mostly and just explain that thought process there right now. This more so when you get to this point on an ASIN level adjustments, I sometimes use these because there are some scenarios where you use them. This allows some granularity and allows you to customize at an ASIN level. This is helpful when a client wants to push a specific ASIN like a new launch where they want to sell through inventory. And I also reiterated that again on the second bullet point where it's, let's say you're almost out of stock, you decrease the account ACoS goal or increase it depending on your goals, and you basically utilize that. For an inventory sake, you might want to decrease the account ACoS goal because it's going to deliver less ad spend, and then it will start to allocate more towards other ASINs or your other products in your campaign at the campaign level with campaigns. I can't even speak right now, but essentially you want to use this scarcely. You want to like if you do make an adjustment like this, you want to take it off after a couple weeks. I've seen before. We've tried granularity for clients in the past because they want to get super hyper specific on each ASIN. That doesn't work too well. And I actually had a client that wanted me to adjust like so specific on their specific one of their ASINs that it actually, in decreasing the product level ASIN ACoS goal, it actually increased it on Quartile. Like Quartile reacted to it by increasing it. So let's say, for example, we dropped it down to 20% account or ASIN ACoS, and ideally we wanted to be in that 25% range, or ideally we wanted to be in that 20% range to simplify things. It actually brought it up to 28%. So you want to be extra careful with this, and you don't want to keep it on for long if you're going to utilize this. Lastly, campaigns, rarely use these. This is the most amount of granularity. It's customization at the campaign level. It's helpful when a client wants to push a specific keyword to improve ranking. And I think that's like the main scenario you would use it for. I don't really like this too much because if you follow our principles in 80/20, it's all going to have this trickle down effect and this momentum will come through. So I think that just in adjusting this primarily, unless there's scenarios otherwise, is the best case scenario. And then, like I said, same thing with a product level. You probably would get rid of the campaign level adjustments a lot quicker, just so you let Quartile do its thing. To reiterate, if you just adjust this only, this is the best case scenario. Like I mentioned, there are exceptions to the rule, but please don't get too crazy with Quartile and add all these product level ACoS adjustments because it's not going to react poorly. It's not going to react properly to it. Lastly, I wanted to share this. You guys know the sponsored brands, SB underscore to tie in, SBV underscore for sponsored brand video to tie in. But campaign status, check post launch. When you create campaigns, you're going to create them through here. Then you'll be able to check your status. And perfect examples are these right now. I have 2 of these here. Created, obvious, means the campaign is created. Duplicated means that the campaign was created once before and it's either active or it's paused. If it's paused and you want to relaunch this keyword, archive the one that's paused so that you allow it to run again. You may have to give it about 15 minutes or so for it to populate, maybe even upwards to an hour or so. It depends on how Quartile's, I guess you could say, I'm going to say how Quartile's feeling that day. But on average, if it's queued or if it's a duplicated status, it takes about 15 minutes for campaigns to be created, or for campaign, how can I explain this? 15 minutes for campaigns to be created, but let's say, for example, it's duplicated. If you archive it and wait 15 minutes or upwards to an hour, you'll be able to create it and put it back into created status. But if you see it in queued, these are, when you check status and you see queued, and it's going to come up in orange, just like this here, it just means that it's waiting to be launched. And this is typically what happens post creating a campaign. You'll have these, and these are just something to take into consideration. Another one you take into consideration is an auth error. If you see an auth error, let us know, and we'll figure out how to resolve that in regards to that, because I've seen that happen before. But for invalid argument, number 1, it indicates the ASIN and SKU input on the creation spreadsheet do not match. So if I had this ASIN and I had a different SKU and I had invalid argument 1, that just means that the SKU or the ASIN is different than what's actually on Amazon's platform. Invalid argument 2 indicates the bid set on the settings is 50% higher than the budget allowed. So this would, let's say the average cost per click is like $3 and you create a $2 budget campaign, it's probably not going to be created. So you want to make sure you have allocated enough budget for that. That's pretty much it for the SOP. We can get more in depth, and myself and Melissa created videos on the product level adjustments and campaign level adjustments. So you'll be able to have access to that and have a greater understanding on the campaign level adjustments side of things with Melissa's expertise. And then I go over some of the product ASIN adjustments as well. With that being said, let me know if you have any questions about this. We'll write out this SOP as best as possible for you guys to understand it fully. I know it's a lot coming at you, but please let me know if you have any questions, and feel free to email me at tony@profitablepineapple.com. And with that being said, thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
I wanted to just record this quick video to walk you through the innards of Quartile and just show you what you are going to be using and what you probably should stay away from. So the first thing you want to recognize is where you set your target ACoS. This is it right here. If you're still optimizing, you'll see a bar right here that has just a status update. So it'll have a long white bar, and the orange will go across it to show you where we're at in optimizing for this account level ACoS. My ACoS is right around 50% for my account, so I'm not even close to my 84%. So it's pretty well optimized in this account. Let me show you my account real quick. So you can see right here, last 30 days, let me click enabled away. You can see right here, we're at 54%. And so pretty well optimized. So I'm not too worried about my account right now. And that's why you can see that it's not optimizing anymore on here. All right, so this is where you set your target ACoS. This is for the entire account for every single product. You can also individualize it by products. We go over that in other videos, but you can set product-based, ASIN-based targeting, and then you can also set campaign-based targeting if you're pushing a certain keyword. So an example of that is if I'm pushing a keyword and I want to go 120% target ACoS for that keyword, I can set that for just that campaign, exact match for that keyword. Now, if we have ASINs that are very different in profit margin and very different in targeting, so let's say one product that we have, we're in optimization phase because maybe we're going to go out of stock, we'll lower that specific ASIN target from 84% maybe down to like 40%. And you may not want to do that big of a jump, but you just lower it for that specific ASIN. And you can do that inside of here. And so when you're in here, pull this down, and then you can do this via products. So you can see add product level ACoS. You can do that right there. This is if you wanted to add a specific ASIN to the ACoS. So you paste your ASIN in there, and then the ACoS target that you want right there. All right, let's go over how to make a negative list. A negative list is right here. So again, we're going to come over here under management and under products. You're going to click negative list. Then you're going to add negative lists. And so what you're going to do is you're going to build this out in a spreadsheet, and it's going to be the word, negative word, the type, phrase or exact, and then the ASIN number. And you'll just take this and you'll highlight it all, copy it, bring it back over to Quartile, and then you're just going to paste it in here. And then once you do that, and there's no errors, if you can't save it, it's because there's probably an error. This keyword already exists. So we'll take that away. And then you can see no errors, and then we can click save. What that's going to do is it's now going to allow us to, it's going to upload those negative lists, that negative list, every broad and auto it creates for that product and phrase match. So you don't have to worry about going into Quartile and uploading those yourself. So you can see that down here. If you need to make any changes or remove a word, you can just do that right over here. Timeframe boost, this is for sales. And so when you're having a sale on a product like Prime Day, like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, anything like that, you can boost your top of search by adding it to right here. You can boost your ACoS target by adding it right here with a start and end date. And so what you want to do is you want to build this in a spreadsheet again with your ASIN, ACoS target that you're going to raise or lower, add top of search, so 20 to 100% higher than normal. ACoS again, 20 to 100% higher than normal, depending on how aggressive you want to be. Start date might be Black Friday, end date might be Cyber Monday. Just depends on how aggressive you want to be. And this will boost those bids for those specific dates, and then it will come back down to its normal level once the sales dates are over. So you can do that. You don't have to mess with this, but it's a good idea for sales and everything like that. Let's show you how to create campaigns. You're going to come over here to management, click account, and where you set your target, just scroll down and go to create campaigns. You can see there's a lot of campaigns in here to create. What I want you to stick to though is the exact match campaign right here. Create SP exact campaign OW. Broad match right here. ATM is your automatic campaigns. And then OP is your sponsored product targeting campaigns. Stay away from waterfall campaigns, which are right here. And then stay away from bulk auto campaigns, which are going to be right here. Sometimes those work well if you have a high SKU count, like if you have clothing or something, those do work okay. They're not going to scale you as much as they're just going to kind of like cover all your bases. And so I still like the 80-20 strategy to scale keywords and everything. And lastly, I just want to show you one thing not to touch is rules. And so you can see this rules-based optimization. Never, ever, 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 ever touch these. If you touch these and you mess with these, you'll get in trouble. So just don't do it. Stay away from the rules. We've made the mistake of messing with these a little bit. So I don't want you to make that mistake. Don't mess with the rules. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. All right, I want to show you how to set specific target ACoSs for a specific ASIN or maybe even a specific campaign. Now, why would you do it for a specific ASIN? Because if you have products that have different profit margins, you may want to be more aggressive with some products. If some products are in launch mode, you may want to be more aggressive with those products as well. So you may want to increase the target ACoS of that ASIN. So to set the entire account level ACoS, we go to this account tab and you can see that right there. So we're at 84%. But let's say we want to be super aggressive on another product. So we'll come down here to products. We'll go to add product level ACoS. We'll go over and we'll grab that ASIN for that ACoS. And so let's say it's this one that we're launching right now, and we'll bring it in and I'll paste it in there. And so our account level ACoS is 84%, but let's say you want to go up, put 104% here, you click save, and then now that specific product is going after 104% ACoS. Now let's say I didn't want that. I want to take it back. Oh, this is interesting. I didn't know this one was on here. But yeah, let's delete them. You can just delete them. So it's going to be edit product level. And I'm just going to delete both of them. So that's how you add a specific product level ASIN targeting ACoS. So you can be more aggressive or you can be less aggressive depending on what stage of that product is. So if you're running out of stock, you may want to turn the ACoS down for that specific product, but not the rest of your portfolio. All right, the second thing is campaign specific. And so let me show you an example of that. Let's go over to campaigns, and you can see right here, we have lots of campaigns here. And let's say we have a campaign that we just want to get really aggressive on because it has a keyword that we want to try to get to ranked number 1 on page 1. And this works incredibly well if you have a keyword that's on page 1, but it's not quite pushing to the top and you're already maxing out your ACoS and it's hitting your target. So let's look here. Let's say this phrase match campaign. I don't recommend phrase matches. I recommend exact match. So let's just pretend that acid reflux had a high sales velocity with a high conversion rate. And we wanted to push the ACoS up to 191% because it was working so well and we were pushing up the rank. I would copy this campaign name and then I'd come back over to Quartile and I'd come down here to campaigns. And then right here, add campaign level ACoS. I'd paste the campaign name in there. Then I'd put 200% or whatever you want to do. And you can go up or down. Usually when I use campaign level ACoS targets, it's usually to be more aggressive because we have a lot of sales velocity. And so we'll push that keyword even more above our target account target ACoS. So then I'll hit save. And then you can see right here, edit campaign level, you can see it's targeting right there. So that campaign name is going after 200% ACoS. If you need to delete it, you just do that right there. So that's how you set a product-based ASIN level ACoS if you don't want to go after the account level. And this is how you set a campaign level ACoS as well.
In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to set up time frame boosts through Quartile. And I'm going to share my screen right now. And to simplify time frame boosts as simple as possible, essentially you set up top of search placement for certain campaigns based on a child ASIN that you want to drive traffic towards for specific events, whether you have a new product launch, whether you want to sell through inventory, things like that. This is what we do at the agency to basically increase top of search placement to get more sales on events like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, on Fall Prime Big Deals Day, which you got going on, Prime Day, etc. I've used this before for clients with new product launches and then also depending on the client, and then also selling through inventory. If you set up time frame boosts because you want to sell through inventory before it expires 3 months from now or 4 months from now, utilize this strategy because it's going to spend a lot and it's going to sell a lot. But be prepared for that. You're going to run out of stock rather quickly. Essentially, what we prioritize though is this time frame boosts for events like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Fall Prime Big Deals Day. But I'm going to show you how to set it up. It's quite easy actually. So we have our child ASIN, ACoS percentage, add to top of search placement, start and end date. That's all you need. Now for context, I'm using my brand. My brand's very small. Right now we're running at a 30% ACoS. Tacos is really low. And based on what we're doing with Google Ads, things like that, we can definitely go more aggressive. So I increased the ACoS on Quartile a few days ago to be at 50%. And with that, I set the top of search, I set the time frame boost to be at 50% for my ASINs as well. I'm not going to mess with that just because Quartile is going to do its thing. Depending on new products, things like that, you can set the adjustment there. But what I really want to move the most is the top of search placement. Now, to explain top of search placement as simple as possible, let's say you have a dollar bid and you want to add to this to get first page on, whoever's searching a specific keyword or anything like that. If you set a 50% top of search placement, for typically if your bid's $1, it's going to be $1.50 to get to that first page, to get to be the first sponsored ad of the sort. So if you have any questions about this, the easiest way to do this, if you don't want to do the math, you can set it up here on, you go to campaign settings for your campaign, and then you can basically go here, dollar bid will be $1.50. Usually for these type of specials, we hit that 25 to 50% range for clients, unless otherwise specified. If our clients want to go more aggressive, we will, but that 25 to 50% range during the special events and things like that, it usually works pretty well. Now, there are exceptions, with certain brands, things like that. When selling through inventory, we go 50 to 75. I find that to be reasonable if you're selling through inventory, but for events, 25 to 50 is a good range. Now, what you're going to do, like I said, child ASIN, ACoS, top of search, start and end date. You're going to copy this over. You're going to go to Quartile. Then you're going to go to products. When you're on account here, you're going to go to products. You're going to go to time frame boost, add time frame boost, paste. And sometimes the ACoS doesn't show up and sometimes the dates don't show up. So just make sure you got the dates right and then set the ACoS range, and then you hit save. I already have this running right now, so it's good to go, but you hit save and it's going to ask you, are you sure? And you're going to say absolutely, and there you go. That's pretty much it with the time frame boosts. If you have any questions about them and how they work, I can explain in certain scenarios what we've utilized them for the inventory further, and then also for this these specials, because they work extremely well if you're preparing for an event like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or Fall Prime Big Deals Day. But yeah, if you have any questions, you can email me at tony@profitablepineapple.com if you're not in the agency. And with that being said, guys, thanks for watching and we'll talk soon. Take care. Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to show you what to do if you'd like to slow down sales. Now, obviously, there are various scenarios that you would do to slow down sales in regards to your advertising on Amazon. Essentially, I'm going to give you a scenario with a client. I'm not going to name who it is, but it's just a scenario. And this is just an example of what we wanted to do in reducing or slowing down sales, essentially. And this will apply to scenarios whether or not you're reaching for a stock out, whether tacos is too high, whether you're just spending a lot with respect to organic revenue. And so with this client, they were making a lot of sales. They wanted to slow down sales and make advertising more efficient. And we were trying product level adjustments. Now, product level adjustments, there are some scenarios where they apply very well. But in this case, for our client, the best solution, and I'm going to show you the best solution here, is the least amount of granularity, a little bit less complexity. With product levels, we went over that in a previous video. We don't want to add too many of them because then Quartile just gets out of control. Ideally, the best thing that you should prioritize in terms of Quartile adjustments is the account level ACoS. So I'm going to give you a scenario with this perspective of my client in the form of Tessa's Kitchen. So let's say, for example, Tessa's Kitchen has an 18% ACoS, week over week, just spending so much. They're making a good amount of revenue, but they're just spending a lot. And they want to bring down the ad spend and bring down the tacos so they're a little bit more profitable. Quartile follows a 2-to-1 ratio when it comes to account level adjustments. So if you want to reduce ad spend by 10%, for example, you're going to reduce the account ACoS by 5%. So you're going to go to 25%. And if you want to increase it from the 30%, this is if you want to spend more and increase the overall tacos, for example, you'll want to, let's say we want to increase ad spend by 10%. We're going to increase the account ACoS by 5%. And so that's pretty much it. If you want to bring it down and you want to bring your tacos down, you just decrease your account level ACoS by 5%. If you're trying to reduce it by 10%, if let's say, for example, the tacos around 18%, that 5% decrease on the account level ACoS may filter the tacos downward. And what happened with our client was tacos came down, sales went up. And what we found and what we deduced was that a lot of the ads was going towards products with just a higher ACoS than average that are part of the 80-20, but they're not their best seller. But when we reduced the account level ACoS by 5%, the spend from those that were not their best seller went to the best seller. And the advertising was more efficient for their best seller, and they just got more sales as a result of it. So there are scenarios where you utilize this if you want to slow down sales with certain things. If your tacos is higher than average, if you're running on an inventory, this is the way to do it. Less complexity. If you just decrease your account ACoS, you hit save on the corner here, blocking my face, save parameters. You hit that, and then the following day, Quartile will adjust based off of that. Lastly, you want to, when you make these adjustments, the best scenario that you should do for Quartile to regulate it, because Quartile operates on a 7-day window. Quartile will work, let's say, for example, in the past 7 days, Quartile is at 30%. Now you have the ACoS goal at 25%. Quartile will work down to that 25% over the next 1 to 2 weeks and regulate, stabilize. You'll be able to gauge it more properly after the 2 weeks. If you just gauge it and make adjustments after 1 week, that might be a little bit too aggressive for it. It's going to act wonky. But if you give it 2 weeks to regulate, you can look back based on your data, following the SOP and following the metrics that we basically provided you. You can gauge your tacos, you can gauge your inventory, and then you can make the best case scenario for you can make adjustments based on your best solution for your product or your products, your brand. Ideally, guys, you don't want to add too much complexity when doing this. Just the account level ACoS, and that's going to help everything. That's pretty much it for this video. If you guys have any questions, comments, feel free to email me at tony@profitablepineapple.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
This was just one chapter in my free Amazon PPC Masterclass, which is better than any paid course out there, in my opinion. We've only just scratched the surface. To unlock even more profitability with your advertising, continue watching this full Amazon PPC Masterclass. I put the video right here so you can click it and watch that entire Amazon PPC Masterclass. If you want this entire Amazon PPC Masterclass emailed to you, make sure you head to profitablepineapple.com and sign up for our free Amazon PPC Masterclass.
If you like this video, make sure you subscribe to our channel.
Good job.